All right. So, are motorcycles the cheapest way to get around? Well, we're about to talk about that and find out. Let's see. Okay. That was weird. Typical BMW driver for you, though. Everybody's out riding today. Bunch of Harleys, though. What's up, YouTube? Dapper Dan here. Another beautiful day here in Colorado. It is like 85 degrees, probably. But there's a little bit of a breeze that makes it feel pretty nice out. So recently, just probably like about a week ago, Revzilla came out with on their channel with their High Side Low Side podcast. This exact topic: are motorcycles the best way to get around? And they had a long discussion about it. So the short answer is yes, motorcycles are the cheapest way to get around. Especially for me, is for the reasons that I'm going to explain here. So I think they had found like the cheapest car you could get brand new is like a Chevy Spark or something. I think it was like $18,000 or $19,000, and I'm not sure the mileage that the Spark gets. I would imagine it's in the 30 or 40 mile per gallon range. I'll look it up and post it on the screen here. And depending on what kind of bike you can get, depending on what kind of bike you want to get, if you want something like that's really good on gas, like a Grom or something, that's only like $3,000 or $4,000 brand new. So your initial starting off cost, motorcycle versus car, is lower on the motorcycle. The motorcycles are in general less expensive than less expensive than a brand new car. A brand new motorcycle versus a brand new car, you could probably get a brand new motorcycle, depending on what you want. You prefer like $9 grand, maybe $12 grand if you want something like a little more fancy. And the cheapest car you could get, which is a Chevy Spark, which is ugly, I would say, not many people get them, is 18 grand. But if you're looking at like an actual good looking car that would still get good gas mileage, you're looking at least $30,000, maybe 35. So your initial upfront cost is cheaper for the motorcycle. Another thing they talked about was insurance. For me, insurance on all three of my bikes is very cheap. I don't know if it's because I have three bikes or what, but all three bikes, for full coverage on all three bikes, so I got my Supermoto, my R1, and the Harley 48. All three bikes are $42 a month. Full coverage on all three of them. And then so just to put that in perspective, like full coverage on my truck is like $45, and that's just the truck alone. At least in my experience, insurance is cheaper on motorcycles. I think I remember when I had my Kawasaki Ninja 250, insurance on that for full coverage was $12 a month. And my buddy that had that CRF 250 or whatever, that I rode that one time, insurance on that for full coverage was $9 a month. So I don't know why everybody thinks insurance on motorcycles is so expensive. At least in my experience, it is very cheap. And then okay, so insurance is cheaper, your upfront cost is cheaper. The next thing you got to talk about is fuel prices. So most of your motorcycles are going to require premium fuel fuel prices and gas mileage, I guess. Most of your motorcycles are going to require premium fuel, and depending on what bike you get, like I would say 45 miles a gallon is an average for motorcycles. Some motorcycles get a whole lot more than that, some get a little bit less. Like they said, an MT10 probably gets 30 miles a gallon, and still that's decent gas mileage. But most motorcycles are going to require premium fuel to put in there, which is not that bad when you consider like most motorcycle gas tanks are like 4.5 gallons, so premium fuel right now is what, like 450, 460 a gallon. So geez, everyone's riding today. So 460 a gallon. We'll just do 450 to make the math easy. That is about $16 to fill up your motorcycle. A couple years ago that probably would have been $10 to fill it up, but yeah, $16 to fill up your motorcycle. Not bad. Most car gas tanks are probably like, I would say at least 15 gallons. So just putting regular in, which is anywhere around here, is $4 a gallon. That's probably different in whatever state you live in. But just putting regular in, you're looking at spending probably $50 to fill up your tank. Just for a regular car. If you own a truck that's something that has a very big gas tank, you're looking upwards of $100 to fill up your tank. I know in my truck it's at least $120. I have a 36 gallon tank. It's $120 to fill it up. So until gas prices come down in my truck, at least, I am refusing to put a full tank of gas in. We're at 416 there. They had to flip the little 9 upside down and use the, I don't know what they did. 418, I don't know what they're trying to do there. Right across the street, 397. So yes, the gas that you put in your motorcycle has to be higher quality gas. So in your mind you're thinking, but Dan, the gas I have to put premium in my motorcycle, that's like $5 a gallon, whereas regular is only $4 a gallon. But you have to think the volume that you're putting in there. In a motorcycle, you're only putting 4 or 5 gallons in there, and in a car you're putting at least 15 gallons. I don't know a single car that has a tank smaller than 15 gallons. And so I would argue the motorcycle is still cheaper on gas, even though you have to use the premium gas. And if you think about it, getting that better gas mileage on a motorcycle, the cost you're paying per mile is much cheaper, I would argue, on the motorcycle. That would take a lot of math that I'm not prepared to do while I'm driving on a motorcycle, but I would imagine it is the cost per mile, using regular in a car and using premium in a motorcycle. Just going off of average miles per gallon is much cheaper on the motorcycle. And the last thing I think they went over, that I can remember at least, is maintenance. So on a motorcycle you will have to do maintenance more often than in your car. That's just, it's a higher performance engine, so you're gonna have to do more maintenance than in a car more often. So motorcycle oil changes usually, depending on what bike you have. My Harley's every 4,000 miles, and my R1 is every 2,000 miles. So the bobber that I used to have, that was every 3,000 miles. So we will just do an average of those. Every 3,000 miles is an oil change. And this guy's trying to knock his dogs out of the truck or what? I don't know what he's doing. So typically on cars, some cars at least, oil changes are, let's say, 5,000 miles. I know a lot of cars that are 3,000 miles though. So oil changes are typically about the same number of miles, but I would argue that the motorcycle over its life needs less dollars wise amount of maintenance than a car. So for example, my truck is coming up on its 60,000 mile service, and it needs $2,000 worth of service at 60,000 miles. Right now I got my last oil change at like 56,000 or something, but they told me for the next one, this is all the stuff it needs and it's going to be $2,000. So I have never paid anything close to that amount on a motorcycle. So what in the world, is this chick on drugs or something? What are you doing? So I would argue, dollars wise, motorcycle maintenance is cheaper still. Frequency wise, you will have to do more maintenance on a motorcycle, but usually it's just oil changes or valve checks or something, and you can get an oil change kit for a motorcycle. It uses less oil than a car. You can get an oil change kit for like 60 bucks for a motorcycle, depending on what bike you have. So frequency wise, the car wins. You'll have to do maintenance less often on a car, but dollar wise, I think the motorcycle wins on that one as well. So in the end, what is cheaper to get around, motorcycle or a car? Let's do it by each thing. So initial price, motorcycles are cheaper. Insurance, motorcycles are cheaper. Gas mileage, motorcycles get better gas mileage. They do have to use higher octane fuel, but you're putting less in, so it's cheaper in the motorcycle than you are in the car. And maintenance wise, motorcycles over its life are cheaper than a car. You will have to do it more frequently, but it is cheaper in the car. So out of those four categories, in my opinion, motorcycles win in every single category. And it even gets even better if you get an electric bike like this. Like charging this bike from 0% to 100% is 81 cents. There is absolutely no maintenance that you have to do. No kind of engine or anything. I'll have to replace the tires, obviously. Brake pads, eventually. You hardly ever use the brakes. And maybe the belt if it ever breaks. But I don't think that'll happen. At least in a long time. So I hope I proved definitively that motorcycles are far cheaper than cars. I guess I just remembered another point that they threw in. On a motorcycle, you have the added cost of getting a bunch of gear whenever you first start. But that's just a one-time thing. Usually you can keep your gear for years. You're supposed to change your helmet every 5 years. But yeah, that's just an added cost to a motorcycle. Still does not make up the price difference to a car, in my opinion. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I hope I proved to you definitively that motorcycles are the cheapest way to get around. The only thing cheaper than a motorcycle is buying a bicycle. If you have a short commute, buy a bicycle and just use that in the summertime at least. You can't really do that in the winter. So there you guys go. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I hope it was nice and comprehensive for you guys. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's any category that I forgot to mention to compare the motorcycles and cars to. And if you really enjoyed the video, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Later.